At least Bobby T was sitting with the retards at Palace, and not the ultras, or else he could have got battered. Bless him. Anyway, you'll see that video in a while, so don't panic. Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Live. This is That Millwall podcast. My name's Mickey Simpson. The fella sitting to there is Frankie, and there is my partner in crime, Omar, who I will move up. There we go. Yes, so loads to talk about. We played a team we live rent-free in their head this week. The financials from Millwall have just been released on the website I've got. We'll go through them in a minute briefly, and then we'll preview tomorrow's game against Stoke. It's quite weird. I went on BBC earlier, and BBC Stoke, and they didn't really ask me anything. Just really about what's your thoughts on Alex Neil, because he come to Stoke. He was meant to be really good. We thought he was a saviour. He turned out shit, and we basically didn't want him anymore and forced him out. And that was pretty much.
He's got most of the champion at this point, hasn't he? He seems to be a bit of a journeyman veteran, really. But yeah, it feels like every week we're playing his old clubs.
No, that's it. That's it. So good evening, Omar. You are good?
I'm good, mate. Not too shabby. Looking forward to another 12:30 kickoff down Den tomorrow. Excited.
It's always the way, isn't it? It's always good, isn't it? And Frankie, you good?
Yeah, mate. I quite enjoy the 12:30 kickoffs. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, gives you the whole day afterwards.
I'd rather go out for a beer after. So.
Yeah, no, that's it. So, good evening, Cole, Bobby, Chris. Chris, I might have to have a chat with you, thingy. I do like your comments on what do you call it, because the last 2 days there's been a lot of history from a few years back and whatnot. So we'll touch on those. Obviously, 40 years ago yesterday was potentially could have been our Hillsborough away to Luton, and 15 years ago, I think today was when we beat Charlton 4-0. So yeah, Andrew Roberts, good evening. Mark Lindsay, good evening. Peter, hopefully you got the DM and hopefully that works so you can get back onto Hoff. Connor, good evening. Paul, good evening. Bobby, I've already said hello to you. Mark Murphy, David Spire, Sam, Lions Raw, David Clements, Mark F, London Lion. There we go. We are through everybody. I do like that one though. Look, morning lads. It's all right. You don't have to show off just because you're in New Zealand. Do you know what I mean?
Take your weather, mate.
Yeah, we got something planned for that coming up. So stay tuned. You need to look out for something for the World Cup coming up soon. So yeah. And Kenneth Clark, good evening, Kenneth. I think Kenneth is our oldest listener. I think I can't remember when he went, but his first game, I think 40s, I think it was with Millwall. So yeah, I think it's the first one. So yeah. Right, without further ado, I'm going to play a video what Johnny made for us. It's getting out of date now, but I'm still going to keep playing it because Johnny's no longer here, unfortunately. So, yeah, here we go. Intro time.
Language you don't usually hear on television. Millwall in London's Dockland.
No one likes us, but we don't care. We're that Millwall podcast. Loud every Friday night right here. Legends like Jimmy and Abdul take a share of a kitchen or two. Super Neil Harris a fucking legend too. Through the good times and the strife, we'll support the Lions all our life. This ain't no place for fancy feet. This is fucking Millwall through and through. Located on our very own John Pedersen way. Let them all come, let them have their say. Millwall till we die. With that Millwall podcast, loud every Friday.
Good evening, then. Very cool, Omar singing. I think we always
You don't like that, but I like the catchiness of that tune. You know,
I wrote that song, so I like it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I do like it. I wrote it, so yeah, I do like it. I wrote it, Johnny, over one late night. I've kept writing it, sending it, and he's going, what about adding this bit? And I'm going, oh, what about, do you think this bit? Do you think that bit? And kept sending it backwards and forwards because he was doing the same with a Sheffield United song. He was writing a Sheffield United song, singing, slagging off Sheffield United. So he was sending one back to me. I was sending my one to him, and then editing and going, does that sound right? Does that sound right? And yeah, it was good fun. So yeah. Right then, gents, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk about Leeds first, or do you want to go about the financials first? Because they've just they are hot.
Oh, you do. It's up to you. You're steering the show, mate. Go on.
Let's get Leeds out of the way then. So then, Wednesday night, we made the horrible journey up north to take on our greatest fans in the world, Leeds United. They seem to love us to bits. I don't know why. We seem to live completely rent-free in their head all the time. Unless we beat them, then they cry. They beat us 2-0. Personally, I think their admin was taken over. Their Twitter admin was taken over by a 5-year-old. You know, Leeds beat 5th round Millwall. You know, it's sort of, you know, I wouldn't even say it's bantery. I'd say it's fucking child. But yeah, we'll start with you, Omar. Your thoughts on Leeds' performance and whatnot.
5th round finalists, they put it, didn't they?
Yeah.
5th round finalists, Millwall. Yeah. Listen, look, they were due result against us. Let's be honest. It would have been nice to get 6 points over this season, win all 3 games. Fact of the matter is, I didn't expect much from Wednesday night. We didn't get much from Wednesday. We'll come on to the game, I suppose, a bit more in detail. But I thought, first couple of minutes, I was thinking, here we go. We're starting the game well. We've won the ball a couple of times and played a lot of it in their half of the pitch. That's before Jake Cooper gets credit for an own goal, which then he goes Pete Tom very quickly. And then it's, yeah. Look, it's a tough place to go, Leeds. We know that. We won the FA Cup. That was our day out. Let's have it right. And to go down on Wednesday night and get a result of the league when they're at the top of the table would have been a tough ask. Didn't happen. I don't think it was too terrible. Didn't create enough going forwards. That's probably lack of creativity. That's a real problem in a minute. And it's been the problem all season. What was it? 36 goals in 37 games in the league this year. That's our real underlying problem. And going to Leeds, you're not going to get many chances. And we've got a couple that are kind of sticking in the memory in the first half. But aside from that, that's all she wrote, really. And 2-0, probably a fair reflection of the game, really. Maybe it could have been 3, I suppose. But move on. We've got the Stoke on Saturday, haven't we?
We have got Stoke on Saturday. I think it's a bit depressing for Leeds that they couldn't beat us by more, but maybe they were playing with half a squad again. I don't know.
You're about to ask a question. Probably as our playoff hopes over. It felt like even prior to the game, just say for some. Obviously, I tried to go to every game. I didn't go out there Wednesday. It felt like even just watching the game, albeit from the comfort of my sofa, which meant I didn't have a long journey home after the game on a midweek game, but it did feel like even watching the game, the interest I've got in the rest of the season's already dwindled quite a bit. And it does feel like it's the end of the season and we need to try and take some positives and see something to hold on to and some glimmers. What does that mean? Maybe new signings that we signed in January coming good. We yet to see really Kundal hit it off. And I was a big fan of him when we signed him. His performances have been a bit poor, I think. We want some glimmers to hold on to that we can then take into next season at this point. Now, I will say, watching that game, it just felt like I'm looking forward to the summer now and getting the season over with and getting back out to Mercy if we go out there again, which the rumour went around the other day, didn't it? So that's kind of where I'm at now. Just tick these games off and finish the season at this point, and we'll go from there, I think. But yeah, Frankie, what did you make of it, mate, on Wednesday night?
No, it's exactly the same, mate. I thought we were very flat for large portions of the second half. I actually thought the first half we looked all right. We made it hard. We almost carried a threat and looked half decent in the first half. You could see the goal in the 3rd minute, and you fucked, didn't you, really? Or any form of tactics or strategy at that point's gone out the window because you've considered such a sloppy goal.
Mm-hmm.
We need to seriously address. By the way, for every week now, we consider a really cheap goal, like Watford cheap today, cheap Bristol City. Neither goal was fantastic, and you think that needs seriously looking at. But yeah, as you said, mate, I think the season's over now. Hopefully they can use the next couple of weeks to bed in some of these new signings and just get closer to what we want to look like next year, because I do think the squad looks really disjointed, particularly going forward.
Mhm.
So hopefully we can make some positive strides in that sense, and we'll get a good look at what we need for next year. Because I do think, although we had a big January, we are probably going to need another 6 to 8 in the summer to have a solid side for next year. But hopefully a couple of kids can get some minutes in the next couple of weeks. It could be worse. We could be one of the 10 sides in a relegation battle.
Yeah, that's for sure, mate. For sure.
I
Just
mean,
on the Mickey, I'll just ask one question to Frankie as well. Actually, we know we're talking about the defensive mistakes. I'll hark back to the start of the season when we had a previous manager. We probably were a bit more defensively solid, and this manager's come in the remit of trying to change the team, right? In a sense, change the style in a sense, and kind of evolve and get these youngsters in. Are we seeing more mistakes because we don't have? Well, I was going to say George Hogan playing in the 10, but he played the last 2 games, so that's probably not the best example. But I suppose this is kind of something that's creeped in since Alex Neil's come in, maybe, because I don't feel like we was making these mistakes in games, defensively at least, on Neil Harris.
I think we were at the start of the season. At the start of the season, I seem to remember us playing well each weekend. Like, if you remember, look at the Watford and Bristol City games really early in the season, we were just every goal we conceded was really sloppy. Like QPR away, sloppy goal. And I think we still are. We stopped for a couple of when we went in that run where we was unbeaten in 7. We looked solid in that period, but we clearly have a squad that, in my opinion, is just a bit soft. When it gets a bit hard, there's a reason we struggle to turn games around when we're a goal down. There's a reason we've started switching off at corners and things like that, and we need to get a bit more grit, I think, in the side, be a bit more combative, and dare I say it, be a bit more Millwall-like. At the minute, we don't concede goals that you would attribute to a Millwall football team, would you?
No, I think so.
I think you're right. But I also think that we look. What's the word I'm looking for? We look a little bit more Millwall, as in, like, our heads don't go down and we keep going till the last minute. As in, I think, under previous, I think sometimes our head went down and we might not carry on till the last minute. Here, under Alex Neil, I think we definitely seem to keep chasing the game regardless. I mean, the second half we come out a lot stronger against Leeds, and I think that someone said in the chat a minute ago, Honeyman was giving him a bit of issue, but then obviously when he went off, we didn't have anyone who was doing the same thing. As much as we slag Honeyman off, he is good at drawing fouls. He is good at, holding play up a bit, but he just doesn't have that next bit. What's fantastic either.
His presence off the ball is good. That's what's always been good about Honeyman. He's off the ball work. He's donkey work, as they say, or do the dog work, shall we say. That's always been not in doubt, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. I do think the mistakes have creeped in. I do agree with Frankie. I think someone said about the own goals. When was the last time we scored so many own goals? It's true. I mean, I suppose we could scrutinise the goal a little bit in the first half, because I've watched it back 10, 11, 12 times and I still don't understand what happened, to be honest. I think it's just obviously sloppy mistake in midfield, but I think Denor lost the ball, goes down our right-hand side. We failed to deal with it. And it takes a little deflection off Cooper, but not enough for me to wrong foot Jensen the way he did. Jensen then makes the mistake, you could say. It's a catalogue of errors. There's no pinpoint on anyone, but it was a poor goal to give away. And like, as I mentioned at the start of it, like, we started well the first 3 minutes, albeit only 3 minutes, but you could tell the players were up for it coming out of that dressing room, I felt like. And then you make a mistake like that and you're away to Leeds, where if you then try to press them more and get onto them more, they're going to hurt you, the likes of Dan James on the break, and make it so difficult for you and Solomon. So it's like you just shoot yourself in the foot. That's the mistakes you shouldn't be making at this level, clearly.
No, I agree. And also I think with Leeds, the problem is with Leeds is that as soon as you allow that crowd to get on, to basically get on sign and get on tune, you're fucked. Because they are so fucking loud. It's a bit like us to a degree, but they are so loud, and I think it probably puts players off. That's why I think they get what they get there. Same as sometimes we can get what we get at our place. But I do think if you can keep the crowd quiet, then you stand a better chance of scoring goals and winning. Especially if you get the first one.
They only lost once at home this year, mate, and I think that's against us in the cup. Do you know what I mean? So that tells you all you need to know. Like, they made changes against us, we know that, But they've only lost once at Ellen Roads, and the league form was impeccable. I think it's the best in the league. So when you give away a mistake 3 minutes in like that, you're setting yourself up for a hard time.
But let's be honest, we do know that they're probably going to fuck it up.
I'd love to see it fuck it up.
They're definitely going up.
Their squad's
their squad is good.
It's not a good squad, mate. It cost them 200 million.
Yeah, I know, but the trouble is with Leeds,
100 million.
they always fail at the last point, don't they, with Leeds? So, do they have it to go all the way to the last game of the season, or do they have it to go to the last game of the season to basically go into the playoffs to get beat again?
I looked at their run of games within the season.
Wouldn't it be funny, mate, if we scraped the playoffs and got Leeds at Wembley for a playoff final and beat them? Oh, my God.
We're 8 points off the playoffs, mate, with 9 to go. We're not going to claw that back, especially when we've got Sunderland away to come, Burnley away to come. There's one more else, isn't there? Sheffield United away to come. We're not going to make up 8 points this stage of the season, mate. It's not happening.
I think we had this conversation after the Bristol City game, mate, about you think so if you're watching some of these performances, thinking this is a little bit turgid, a little bit shit, and how much can you analyse these games whilst also being sort of a little bit pragmatic and understanding that if you was to ask Alex Neil, he would tell you this isn't a side good enough to maintain a playoff push. This isn't a side that he would put out in an ideal world.
No,
we've had a lot of injuries, a lot of new players to bed in, and it does just look very disjointed at times. And some weeks it does look poor, and in other weeks it can look really good. And it's just so inconsistent. And how much stock can you put in? How much analysis can you put in it? And eventually, you've got to just sit there and go, it's part of the process. It's a phase you've got to go through. You know what I mean? And eventually, it'll get better. But I can't see it getting better in this season.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and I think I don't really want it to either because I don't think we're ready to go up. But I do like the conversations. What Neil has at press conferences and stuff, where he's not afraid to sit there and say, look. We looked at the playoff position. If we can get towards there, then great. But like you said, Omar, we're not really ready for it. Blah blah blah. But you just like the fact that he is having a go at it. Do you know what I mean? He's not, because how long is it that we've had managers who basically, we need 50 points to be safe. We need 45 points to be safe. We need this to be safe. Rather than going, are we going to go up there? It's always been, we need 55 points this season, or 50 points, or 45 points to be safe. Where we're not getting that. We're just literally going out there and doing what we do. We know we're safe.
Well, but we are safe. But I will challenge that because, in fairness to
him,
I won't say the geezer's name. So the manager before Harrison Edwards. I'll say his name, Gary Rowett. He was.
You can say he's in the league now, so you can say his name.
He was, albeit his football was as boring to watch as ever, and Oxford United seem to have been found that in recent weeks, and the fans on Twitter, their end, seem to be having a meltdown every week, which is brilliant to see. But in fairness to him, he never once used to quote that whole 50-point mark and then play on from there and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. He did set the bar in a sense of what we're looking to achieve, albeit the expectation might be a little bit below it. So I'll give Rowett his due for that, because then that's, we had 4 top half finishes in a row under him. So that has changed the mentality in a sense. I don't think it's anything new Alex Neil's doing. I think it's just difficult for him to come in the middle of the season. He's not been able to implement anything. He keeps saying, but the thing is, though, ultimately, managers change every season, so he should be able to come in and implement something. So you can't give him too much rope for that, I don't think. You can't cut him too much slack. But I think he wants to maybe play a back three, which is something that we'll probably see in this pre-season a lot, because there's stuff like he mentioned when he went to Preston away. He's not had a chance to really try and develop that yet. I think there's things he wants to do and implement that he's holding off from doing in the summer. Yeah. That's when you can then start to fully judge him next season, obviously. But he also should be able to come in and get results, which he has done. Away from home, we've been impeccable. We'll come on to Stoke later on, but I think this home form needs to be sorted. Between now and the end of the season, we need some feel good, especially with season tickets on sale, especially with stuff happening. You want to make the Den a nice record.
Hearing we're selling record numbers as well, so that's always a good thing.
We're in South East London, mate, so you're going to attract people regardless, right? Let's have that right.
I just want to address this quickly. Where Andrew Roberts says Neil starts with Ivanovic but doesn't play RBW. What you've got to understand with RBW is that he hasn't played loads of games. He come from, he come in late to us. I mean, he come in for a trial with us, 8 months ago or 9 months ago, and a previous manager didn't rate him. The under-21s team wanted to keep him in the 21s for now and just see whether or not he can develop and see what's what. And then obviously Neil has seen something in him started, but it's a young kid. You're not suddenly going to start playing him every game because you're just going to get him injured. And I think they're just slowly but surely edging him in and giving him, 30 minutes here, 40 minutes there, etc., etc. We know he's probably got it in him, but you've got to look at the long term. It's in, you don't want to play him every game now, fucking burn him out, and then one, we fuck him up for next season, and two, we fuck an asset up, for a few seasons to come. And I think that's why. And I think again, I think it was with Femi as well. I think they were concerned about Femi's hamstring, and I think that's why they were edging him in. I think we just got to look at it, play the process as such, and just slowly but surely believe in it and just watch it grow. I think that's the problem. We're always used to journeymen coming in who can hit the ground performing, and now we're actually rebuilding and developing a team.
Always used to journeymen coming in. Move on.
Do we not?
It's obviously changed the recruitment angle, no doubt.
But you look at the players we've had, like like Cooper or Bradshaw.
Cooper signed for us when he was 23, 24 years old. So did Bradshaw.
I know, but they're still here now, what I'm saying. But
you just gave two shit examples. Coming in and hitting the ground running.
But you know what I mean? But a lot of the players we were signing over the time were always 26, 27 and above. They'd already had a good career, and then they basically come to us as a final part. And what I'm saying is that we're now going to the lower end of going 18, 19, 20, where they're not going to be hitting the ground running. They've just got to literally be edged in. So once he gets a whole summer with them and a pre-season, I reckon come the start of the next season, you'll see a lot better team selection, a lot more of what people want. And I think we'll probably make a better move for it.
Here's a hypothetical question for you, and Frankie to you as well. Sorry, I know you've got a point to make. If we sprinkled a bit of that journeyman ready to come in whilst making some of these young signings, would we be doing better than what we're doing right now? Or are we going too much the other way with all these young players coming in trying to find their thing?
Don't forget, there's 8 of those journeymen what potentially are out of contract come the summer.
Do you mean in January if we've got more experienced heads? Well,
maybe I'm not saying that, but I think the recruitment strategy has been completely 24 and under, completely 20. I don't know what their exact age is, but that's been completely the angle. What if we sprinkled some championship readiness to come in as well at the same time, because we're replacing the likes of Honeyman and stuff that we decide are no longer any goods, would there be a different outcome? Will we be more competitive in this league?
I'm not sure, because if you look through the signings, some of them might be young, fair enough, but like Langstaff played. Langstaff's 27, Tanganga 25, Roberts 29, Connolly's played a lot of games as a professional, Jensen 25, Kramer 23, but played. This is his third full season as a professional now. Wintall 27. Coburn was brought in for his championship experience. When you actually start to go through it name by name, it feels like you're going. I agree, it does at times feel like we're maybe going too fast down this youth route. But when you actually look at it, personnel wise, I'm not sure we are. When you actually look at it as an individual basis, and obviously it's all opinion, right? And I do still think moving forward, do we need to continue going down the route where we're buying younger, making the squad younger? Yes. Mm-hmm. But if the right player becomes available at the right price and they're 29, get them in. You still need experienced heads in your Leeds and your dressing room.
I think they still look at. I mean, if they do a big clear out, I think they're still going to look at a few older players, because I think you've got to have a mix of young and old and experience, purely because, well, look at the England team. The reason he's brought Henderson back in is because of the experience. Because he is a proven England player, and he knows what goes on in there, and he'll be a good one to help bring some of these young guys coming through who haven't played in that, that atmosphere, that that whole parcel around playing for England. Hence why he's been brought in. Okay, it's probably a different show, but I can understand. I mean, Andrew. I mean, the problem is, don't forget, RBW got injured. He had a little injury, so I think they're just cautious. Personally, that's what I reckon. But again, I don't know. So yeah, bear with me 1 second in case I cut off.
Did he get injured? Was it pressing away? He did, didn't he? Right? Yeah. Injured, didn't he? So yeah, it's true.
I just got a quick question. I think it's mainly for you, Omar. You made a comment about Alex Neil's been here for a little bit, and managers don't get much time now. So how much dispensation can you give them before they've got to start having an impact on the squad? I completely agree. I think where my head is at, maybe good to get your thoughts, is I think to myself, this is largely the same squad where towards the end, Rowett couldn't get a tune out of them, Edwards couldn't get a tune out of them, Harris got a tune out of them in spells, or for the majority of it, to be fair to him, but maybe because he made it really, really simple football. And now you've got similar players for Neil that again he's maybe struggling to get a tune out of it. At what point have you just got to say some of these guys aren't good enough?
Well, I think we're in a position where we can.
Summer.
Yeah, that's it. You got the summer coming up, haven't you? I suppose they're playing themselves into a contract tonight, aren't they? The players that are out of contract in the summer anyway. Yeah, I do think. Go on.
No. I was just going to go on. No, I'll come after yours.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I do think it's they're in the when I say like you can't really truly judge Neil, but he's got to get results, which he has done because he's kept us up. Like that's well, so he's done his remit. That's the minimum. So like
I think he's 6 wins and 14 he's got in the league.
Exactly, which isn't to be he's coming in and inherited these bunch of players, albeit we did sign 8 in January, so make that what you will. I think someone said about Lovelace I was glad to see him get injured as well. So I think he would have had a part to play in this side, and it'd been interesting to see how he'd done at the end of this season, because he was coming back to fitness at Rangers after his big injury. He was on the bench, featured a couple of times. There's been mitigating factors in there. There's been injuries. Obviously, Benicio Baker as well seems to disappear off the face of the earth. I think he got injured.
As well.
So like, and obviously AJ Matthews he's back in the fold in the 21s. I saw the other day. Yeah. So look, I think between now and the end of the season, we've got to see some of these players start to come in and do stuff, and that's when you then give them a chance to see what they can do.
You've got a free run now, haven't you? Really, we're safe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now he can look around and then get ready for I mean, you see, I get what you're saying there, Andrew, about the club needs to look at Millwall. But I mean, it's what I said earlier on BBC Stoke, because he said to me, what's your thoughts on Rowett? And I said, well, to be on Alex Neil, and I said, look, to be fair to you, I think he's got a bit of freedom because we're safe. He's got another transfer window, and he's got the summer. Pre-season, etc. So I think we will probably address him this time next year, to be fair. And he's got a couple of windows inside of him and see where he goes. But yeah, I think if you listen to the interviews and the press conferences and stuff like that, what he does, it seems to me that he hasn't really had loads of time on the grass with him, because of the way the games are working out, Tuesday, Saturday, travelling halfway around the country and all that. He's had time around the players, but he's not actually had time on the grass with them. And I think that's where the pre-season we'll see more of his style being pushed onto the players and go from there. I mean,
can we still use that excuse, though, Mickey?
It's not an excuse, is it? If you haven't had, I mean. Well, it ain't really. I mean, you think about it realistically. Most players train Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, train Thursday, Friday, and then have a game on a Saturday. When you have a game on midweek, you're not going to be training on a Tuesday if you've got a Wednesday game. You're not going to train on a Monday if you've got a game. So you're going to need rest time in between.
It's a real interesting one, though, isn't it?
Though. With the injuries as well, they've had to have really managed the minutes on the training ground.
100%, but it's a real interesting one because, like I said, I agree. Like it's an interesting one where you give him slack because you have to. We've done well. Like we're 13th place in the championship. I'm happy with that. Like the remit for me for the start of the season would have been if you said we finished 13th, I've been chuffed with that. I think I said we finished 17th or 18th this year, to be honest. So I'm happy. We're exceeding what I thought we would achieve this year. So that's great. But it is an interesting take because the frequency of manager merry-go-rounds and the manager changes. How much do you give a manager? Like, how long do you give a manager? Because you're right. Like, He's not had a chance to be on the training field. He's not had 6 weeks with the squad. He's not been able to take him away to Spain and have that team bonding element.
Where are they going to Spain, Omar?
I think they're going to Mercia, ain't they, supposedly?
Oh.
but look, and we will be there. But it is interesting. It's interesting how it works. It's just like, how long do you give a manager in the modern world of football? It's because but I'm chuffed so far what Neil's done, but it is an interesting take. He's still cutting right to say he's not had time with them. He's had 2.5 months now with them. Do you know what I mean?
No, can I just say as well, though, mate, that the FA Cup will have not helped.
Yeah.
Having them 3 extra fixtures, that's probably what 6, 7, 8 training sessions you didn't have because of them games.
Probably $500,000 in the club's coffers though for it, right? At least.
Yeah. It's not all bad.
Oh, yeah.
It's good payout.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love us to sign B and C. I only played 7 games for Ginola this season.
No chance. He's been injured all year. That's
why
why he played.
No. I mean, I just think that we probably realistically, when Neil signed, we said realistically, you're not going to be able to judge him until he's probably had 2 or 3, probably 4 windows. So like January, summer, January.
I'm judging him long before that.
I'm judging him next season, mate. To be honest, I am. You have to.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying to you is that then they've got all these players what are due out of contract, and I think that's going to be the talk. When you've got rid of those players, what are potentially the players what are being banked on at the minute, if you're going to be replacing and you're rebuilding, then I think that's where it's going to be. We know that Hutch's legs are gone. We've got to start looking at Saville. He can't play every game. Cooper, I think, has already got an extra year left, and I think he's got a year left. Leonard's got an extra year. And then you start looking at, some of the other players. And then you just start addressing it and going, would you keep Honeyman? Look at the players who you want. Ideally, what you'd want is to try and keep Tango for another year.
Yeah.
On the initial question of when you start judging him, there is a wider point. As Millwall fans, we are absolutely fucked. We're all terrible at this. We make a judgment way too quickly, and we start to get. And it's wider football as well. But you think we probably did, in reflection, get on Harris's back a bit too quickly. And Neil was joining under quite similar circumstances, quite a similar time frame. And he has to be given more time than Harris got. And I get that. On us not shitting the bed every other week.
The problem is, and we said this, didn't we, when we went to Palace, is if you look around now at the away support and whatnot, you look around it and you don't recognise half the people who you normally, you go away. I mean, that 2,500, realistically, you're not going to know everyone, but you'll know probably a good 500-600 people probably around. People you've seen at games and all that. But there was I reckon realistically that there was probably maybe 100, 150 who you could, sort of more likely know. Even you fucking agreed that they weren't thingy. And I just think that's where the Boo Boys come out.
Yeah, that is true. That's where the Boo Boys.
And that's where the Boo, because I was speaking to someone in the week who knows Harris quite well, and he said, the turning point for Harris was the Oxford when he got abused. That it was just literally that was, it was like that was it.
I say it all the time, mate. And we can even maybe dabble into the group chat scenario on Wednesday night, which I think there is too much. Everyone expects. I hope for the best. Everyone expects the best. I feel like it's like Wednesday night. I was disappointed that Jensen's a mistake. But you see comments online, which is the one thing I've done this year is refrain myself from social media. But we have it in our group chat sometimes where I read it and I'm like, I feel like people watching it and they're like, I can't believe he's done. Look, he's a human being playing for Millwall. He's not bulletproof. Like the mistakes will happen, right? So then back to the point about the Harris scenario and stuff like that. It's like, I think sometimes people get too carried away with the ambition, making it almost a reality and think it's the expectation almost. And like ultimately though, like we're like the 8th smallest budget in the league. I was reading this transfer room thing today. We're exceeding our ceiling.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute.
And it was a great article, so we'll definitely talk about that. But my point is, like, And people then come on me saying I'm negative for it. And I'm like, well, I'm not. I feel like I'm just realistic about where we're at. We've got Jake Cooper playing for us. Jake Cooper wouldn't get in any other championship team in the league, but we love Jake Cooper. Maybe getting Derby's team, stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, teams below us perhaps. But my point being is like we've got players that are good for us and do a job for us. But a lot of the time, people get very carried away with. Like you watch Man City play when they're in their pomp, you're thinking Millwall could do that. Like, I'm like, well, I'd love to see us try and do it. We've tried it and failed.
Every team in the world could do it. But then the one for me that's been getting me this week is I think some of the criticism for Cundle I do think is a bit over the top. I think Cundle has struggled, but it's always to be given the wider context of the guy didn't kick a ball before he joined us all season.
Yeah,
and he's joining a side that don't keep the ball. He's trying to figure out a new team and. The team's trying to figure him out, and he's not. I don't think he looks fit.
I think the problem. I think what you've got to do is you've got to take a step back, right, and go look at Jensen. Right, he's come in. He's obviously weren't necessarily working. You know, he's got to move. He's come in, and he was coming in as a number 2 to basically learn the game. Right, so he come in as a number 2.
What is he about?
To who?
Jensen comes number 2, mate.
Jensen coming thingy, but Jensen. Sorry, I'm fucking
mate. You mentioned Jensen. What's very interesting about Jensen, right? I went to the goalkeepers night and Marshall was there. He says he's like ahead of his development for me, and he's going to develop into an amazing keeper. He's still young. He's not played that many games. It'd be interesting, but Mickey, come back to what your point was, because I'm intrigued to know where you've gone with that.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that when he's come in, he's basically taken over a keeper who was doing well, who suddenly who sadly died, and he's literally walked into an environment that I don't know whether or not he was necessarily ready for that level of fire. Do you know what I mean? He just suddenly, and Millwall's not the easiest club in the world to come into, and all of a sudden. You know, he had a little bit of struggles at the front. And I do believe nowadays that keepers are all about confidence. Matt tells us all the time, it's all about confidence, all about confidence. And I think that's the problem is how much on socials do they read? How much is this or not? And I just think that he's still learning and he's getting better. And he was he, you know, was he thrown into it?
Social media element, like, because like we're on social media right now talking, right? So I can't ever say I try to avoid it. I can't, right? We do this thing on social media. This podcast,
it's part of our it's part of our thingy, mate. So yeah,
it's like it's part of the fact that people are watching us right now because we're on social media, but you get sucked into it so much, mate. And I'm probably going to go off tangents, but talk about it. It's like you read it online, you're almost made to believe it's the real world, and everyone thinks it all the time. But the criticism is it's because people can go on there and just vent, but then you're made to believe that's the criticism, and then it does kind of seep into the rest of the people that are on there. But then what you do need to remember though is if you pull yourself away from it, that's a small minority, but it's the vocal minority of the fan base. That's the problem. So it's like
let's just look, right. He's 25 years old, right, and he's our number 1, and he basically for the last few years, Bolton Wanderers alone played none. A foreign team, Cordon, he played 7 games. Carlisle United, he played 1 game. 22-23 season. Accrington Stanley played 29 games on loan. And then went to Lincoln City, played 45 games.
This was the point Andy Marshall made, Mickey, mate. He said,
and then come to us.
Yeah, if you compare him to Roberts, Andy Marshall was like, what he said was, he's like, if you look at Roberts played 300 games in his career. If you look at Jensen, he's played a third of that in his career. That's what. And then Marshall,
he's 25. He's not even in the prime for a keeper.
And Marshall was very big on this, saying he's the answer for the future. And he's our man for the now too. So it's like, so then that kind of tells you all you need to know. Like the club are going to stick by him as number 1. And do you know what?
As they should.
As they should. He's the investment. He's the future. He's the one that hopefully comes good for us. We're signing these young players for that reason. So it's difficult because you see Roberts come in and do well. It adds to it. Do you know what I mean?
I am, yeah.
On your,
I got tongue-tied and confused. So yeah.
Go on, Frankie. Mate.
On your point about social media, mate, I think you're absolutely right. There's been nothing worse in humanity than everyone had to put every single fault on the internet straight away. Could you imagine if we did these shows straight away after a game?
But that's it.
It'd be absolute fucking carnage. Like,
Yeah.
It'll be our group chat times by 100 on your
Oh, mate, it'll be evil. It'll be absolute carnage.
Last a week.
I mean, look at recent events, mate, and you just look at the amount, without going into the people involved in Palace, but look at what happened from there. People have lost their job, right, purely through sitting there posting stuff what they would never in a million years say. Martin's in a box and fucking your keeper's looking up at you and all this shit, right? What they would never in a million years be brave enough to say to any one of us, right, to our face. Yet on Twitter, you've got middle-aged women who fucking post it in the height of it all, and that's now cost them their job and potentially a family member their job because they work at Palace, both of them. And you're like, fucking worth it, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? Just for 30 seconds of madness has cost you your job. And that's, there are a few what potentially are fucking, got fucked over the week. Because I know that Millwall and the FA and the EFL are going after all the people what fucking posted that shit. They're going after them. And fucking good luck to them. Because why? What's the fucking point? Call someone a cunt, definitely. But why result to, sitting there going this, that, and the other? I mean, most of the time when the trolls come at me, I just sit there and fucking go back at them and go, did your mum tell you to write that or something, mate? Because it pisses them off a lot more than, anything else. So, yeah.
It's not the real world, mate. But anyway, move on to the whatever you want to go on to next, Mickey, mate. You're the steering the show. You got the accounts, you've got the article. Anyway, move on, mate.
I'm going through some of these.
Okay, but you're meant to steer in the show, mate. Come on.
I know I am. Thanks. So yeah. Right, I'm going to go on to the accounts first, and then we go on to transfer room. Okay, is that all right? And I've also got Bobby's video to play as well. So
okay, mate.
Yeah,
come on,
fuck that.
It.
So yeah. Right, Millwall. Millwall financials have come out for the year ending the 30th of June 2024. So basically, not under the current people in charge, I suppose, is a way to do it. Financial losses. Losses have increased this season to £19.1 million, up from 12 million the year before. Revenues has risen 11% to £21.4 million. Match revenues up 21% to 7.5 million. That's up from 6.2 the year before, and revenue is up from 19.4 the year before. Central income, I would probably take that from EFL and obviously Premier League and other bits and pieces from there. I'd say that's probably what central income is. Has increased by 8%. Commercial revenue largely unchanged. Staff costs have increased 13% to £25.6 million. That's obviously due to investments in the playing squad and changes in club management. So you look at this is up to the end of June last year. And then, overall expenditure 1.9 million rise, obviously reflecting increased business, 25% higher than the year before. Now, the last part of that is the most important part to a degree. There is more in there. If you want to look at it, there's a link on the post what we've put out on Twitter. Chestnut Hill Ventures, which is obviously the Berylsons company, Berylsons family, they've provided us with £19.4 million. Right? Now, let's go back to the top. We lost this year £19.1 million. So everything what's been put in place this season is to obviously stem that, because this is obviously up till June, June. So what they've done this year will have a better reflect, obviously, this time next year. But if you think about, we lost £19.1 million and the Berylsons have put in 19.5, they're not going to do that.
This is the most sense you've spoken all night, mate.
I'm still here. What's happened there? Is he gone? I thought you froze as well. I was like, oh, here we go. But just to reiterate the numbers anyway, because I just got them on the graphic whilst we was doing it there. So whilst Mickey's disappeared and going to come back in and do his rant, no doubt. It's £19.1 million loss, which is from 12 million the year before.
There we go. Sorry about that.
And then I'm just going over numbers again just to reiterate, because I didn't have the graphic up when you started on it. Revenue rose 11%. So it's a bigger income of £21.4 million. We've had a central income increase by 8%. Commercial revenue largely unchanged, which is interesting, the commercial sides. But I suppose we're quite limited what we can do at the Crowns. But we are one of the hotbeds. We're close to London Bridge. We're close to London. It's surprising we don't do more commercially, I suppose. But then,
would that include sponsorship?
I think that's in hand. I think we've now got I think we got Luke on, who's been here a while. So I think the numbers aren't there coming forward this year. I think. Can you take that graphic off for us?
Yes.
And I think that we've got more things coming in. So again, this time next year, yeah. But if you look at with what James coming and said that we need to be. I mean, there's notes on the website side what I didn't post. So from Mark Fairbrother, recognises the financial challenges of competing in the Championship and the league's financial imbalance. Expresses gratitude to the Berylson family for their ongoing support, outlines long-term financial stability plan focused on developing a self-sustaining football investment model, i.e. create the players' assets and then obviously sell them for more money than what we've ever done before, and then reinvest that money back in, growing club revenue and improving operational efficiencies and generating new income through stadium and land development. Obviously, the regen around the stadium, reaffirm the club's commitment to EFL profit and sustainability rules and support, obviously, the football governance body. But to me, I think it just makes sense. I think as a club, we've been so behind on a lot of things. I've said it before, and Luke doesn't necessarily believe me, the commercial guy at the club, when I saw him at the fans forum, and I said to him, realistically, we're probably 10 years behind commercially.
Is he going again? Guys, thank you so much for your viewership today. We appreciate it. But Mickey keeps coming on to his big points and then he freezes.
My internet is fucking shit.
This point better be fucking amazing, by the way.
Yeah, Mickey, mate, we're waiting for your point. Do you know what is interesting? And he's probably going to hear me talk now and then want to come back in again because I'm going to.
I can hear you, prick.
The same guy. Well, the Berylson family investment. It's true we need to be more self-sufficient. It's true we need to develop assets and compete in a different manner. But what I will pose to that question, and we're all very grateful for the Berylson family investment, and no one's ever questioned that. And like without John Berylson and now Jimmy Berylson, we probably wouldn't be where we are now. But can the ownership realistically expect not to continually put money into the club if they want to continue owning the club? Is my only question. And I'm not saying they want to stop putting money in, but they want us to be more. I find it from someone that's not really savvy with the financial numbers of clubs, as in I see the numbers and understand the loss and understand the PSR and all that sort of stuff to it, and the FFP rules, financial fair play. Yeah. But what I find interesting with all the terminology used by them, from what I see as someone that's not really too frequently keeping up on the numbers, when they keep saying the club needs to be self-sufficient, all I see by that is, and I'm not criticising at all, but I'm like, you own a football club in England that's at the second tier of English football. You're always going to have to put money into the club, as far as I'm concerned.
That's not the problem.
No, I know it's not. But what I will
what
say,
they're saying is,
did you hear my point? No, did you hear what I was saying? I was saying, but when I hear the communication from someone that's not really savvy with the numbers or anything like that, all I read from it is like they want to not stop putting money in. But I'm like, how they use the words, so someone that's not really too savvy to the whole thing. It's just my opinion. I'm like, they're always going to have to put money into the club, as far as I see it as a fan.
Yeah, no. What they're saying is that the Berylsons would rather make investment into the club what benefits the club. So
that's good. That's true.
So basically, if Mark or Steve Gallen went to the Berylsons and said, "Look, we need £10 million or we need £5 million for a player, what's going to be able to do this for us or that," they go, "Okay, fine." But what's happening at the moment, as you can see, 19 million loss means that basically Berylson and the family are writing checks to pay people's wages, which what you need is you need the regen, you need player sales, everything else. So that 19 million isn't necessarily 90 million. That 19 million might be 10, but they've made up 9 million each year through different bits around the club to invest back in, so that whether that be, better food, better hospitality, better this, better that, a pub on the ground or selling players, the regen, etc. What they want to do is then go, well, the Berylsons have still put in 19 million, but actually, rather than 19 million to keep the Wolves away from the door, 10 million of that's been put onto players, and we put 10 million on running it. That's what they mean by sustainability.
So, but this is the thing, though. For someone that's a football fan, when they talk about it, like I don't read it as they're going to stop putting money in. By the way, I never have done. But it's interesting. Like I don't know how they could. Oh, you see the investment, you see them announcing the training ground, you see them announcing purchasing Calmont Road and stuff like that. There's no doubt the money's going into the club from the Berylson family. For someone that's not really too bothered overly about the financial report figures and doesn't really care too much about numbers when they come out, I just think the wording could be better to make the general fan understand that. Maybe.
No, I think you're right, and I completely think you're right. And obviously, there's a few things what we've been invited onto going forward, which we will explain going forward. But we might be able to ask those very questions for what you want to ask there. But I think what it is it's why the training ground, the new training ground, is the club is sort of stepped back from it, because it's going to be a huge amount of money. So you're looking at, when it was looking at, it was probably going to be 20, 25 million. I work within the construction industry selling, and prices have gone through the roof. Mm-hmm. Concrete, because of HS2, concrete's gone through the fucking roof. Everything's gone, well up. So potentially a project that might have cost them 25 is now looking at maybe, 40, maybe 50. And also it's a huge investment and a huge place that I don't necessarily, now they brought Claremont, I don't necessarily think they need it in a minute. I think they can half that money, even 10 million, stick it onto Bromley's training ground, onto our training ground at Bromley, and invest there, and then literally just sit on that other land for a while. It didn't cost us a lot of money. I think it cost pretty much around $1 million or so. It didn't cost loads, but I think long term, and also moving out of there affects, contrary to what people sit there and say, I live out that way, you live not far from there, you know where it is. There's no fucking public transport out there. People would have to drive. And if people don't have a car and they live in Peckham, it's going to be a fucking nightmare to get out, because, the club's got to look at paying for buses or this or that and everything else. And it's just absolute fucking ball ache. So, yeah.
I think Frankie has some points to make. Right. Let Frankie make some points anyway.
I get your point around the communication, but around could they be a bit smarter, a bit more savvy in terms of actually elaborating on what they're trying to say when they stand back self-sufficient on what that future actually looks like. I've just been looking at some other championship clubs that have actually announced their 24 results. West Brom underlying losses 38.3 million. Stoke City 30.8, Middlesbrough 29, Cardiff 28.4, Hull 26.4. I'm not going to keep going, but it just, I think we are very much actually middle / one of the better run clubs in the league.
100%.
And you then start to look at some of these clubs, and we'll take Stoke example. We're going to talk about them later. How much money have Stoke spent since they've come down, just pissing good money after bad, and that's what this club cannot afford to do. We can't sit there and run at 38 million pound losses each year.
I think you offset it though. No, they also offset it. They offset it to because they have 30,000 seater stadiums compared to us as well, right? So it's like they can then afford to lose more money, can't they? Because they can generate more revenue, I suppose. Their revenue numbers will be higher as well, so it offsets it a bit.
You say that again. I was when we announced ours, I was looking at the West Brom one because it came out not that long ago. In terms of revenue, ours is near exactly the same for like 7. The only thing that's really different was they had parachutes. Then I don't. Hence why their net losses now has exploded. Because actually, ironically, and I'm sure we'll talk about it at some stage, things like season tickets being a bit more expensive down south do clubs like Millwall a favour.
It's
If we
true.
had Season
I
at
think
West Brom,
the one. I mean, I want to
40
move on. I want to move on to. We can come back in this in depth because the figures come out.
So where are these
on
numbers from,
Monday.
Mickey? Where did you get them from?
These are on the website, on the club's website.
They released them today, did they?
Yeah. They released them about 50 minutes before we went live.
Interesting.
If you look at that post I tweeted, it's the links at the bottom. So what will take you to it, because it is hidden on the website. Well, it's not hidden, but they've put obviously tomorrow's stuff and everything else on, and it's pushed it aside. They're pretty much copied from there. But I'll leave you with this one: is you're looking at about £1.20 goes on wages for every £1 we make. And what you want to do is you want to be able to potentially have that money coming in from somewhere, whether that be the region, whether that be whatever. And then obviously the money what the Berylsons put in is for, upgrading buildings, or, playing for new players, or, that sort of stuff. And that's where it is to go. So, yeah, I want to touch on, is it team transfer team?
Transfer room, no?
Transfer room, yeah. I want to tap on there because it's quite interesting. And that come out today when obviously after Palace, when we went out, obviously I was speaking to a friend of mine who works for Football Manager, and they have a part of their group of companies what basically collate data and sell data to clubs on players, etc. So I think this is the new modern way of football. I think it's all. I think the ways of scouts and looking around and all that lot, because it's very, very opinionated. I think that data driven is the way forward. I mean, you know bits and pieces within this, Omar, to a degree, without outing you, but you probably agree that over the last 5-10 years that it's gone more data, red zone, green zone, etc. With obviously when subs are coming on and off, and everything now is fully data.
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously, there was an article that was released obviously today from the transfer room. The transfer room is like a resource. That's the best way to describe it. It's a tool that clubs can access and pay for on a subscription basis. And it was interesting reading the article. I don't know if we've tweeted out Mickey just yet, but maybe we'll tweet out after the show.
Yeah, I've retweeted it earlier, yeah.
Okay, so it's on our Twitter feed already. So if you have a look at it, you can find it. But what I found, it was very unique. It's almost like they do events that is the equivalent to what I describe as speed dating for selling football players.
I looked at it today. I looked at that one today. They've got one in Berlin next week.
They got so it was interesting because they used the Mihailo Ivanovic deal as a use case. So in Madrid in the summer, I think it's the start of August. Obviously, that's when the link started to maybe surface, you could say as well. Or clearly in that case. So we went. Steve Galler went to this event and sat down with Ivanovic's club, and they have 15 minutes to start opening conversations about the deal and whether or not they'll take it off the table, so to speak, and go speak privately about it. And so, yeah, the transfer room is the resource available. The club then have the metrics behind it that they can use to tick boxes if it's this, like, maybe they're looking for a striker to have a certain profile of play. But it was interesting because I've never known these events to take place where clubs could sit down face to face, have 15 minutes with each other, talk about what they want to achieve. We want this player. Is he available? No. But then I suppose at least they're face to face having these conversations, right, Frank? And what was also interesting was the conversation about the bit about Alex Neil as well. I suppose how we found him and how it kind of backs the numbers up what they were thinking about what they want, right? But what did you make of it, Frankie, when you read it?
I think it's the way the world's going, and I think for clubs like Millwall that don't naturally have the biggest network appeal black book around the globe, so to be able to sort of dip into that, and I think this sort of club, I think this sort of stuff, whilst it's not common in England, across Europe is really common. I don't know if you've ever heard about the transfer hotel, the hotel in Italy that they'll meet up every year during a window, and everything gets done in this one hotel across like 2 days. It's really strange.
Yeah,
it's basically that, and it just globally, and I think there'll be more of this sort of thing as time goes on.
It's just the same as, I mean, I don't know, obviously, with what you do, Emma, whether or not you've been in it, but I mean, you've probably been around it. It seems to me like it's just a meet the buyer event.
That's what it seems like, yeah. So, like,
isn't it? I mean, there's loads of that within. I mean, you pay. So basically, what I would suggest is that transfer room charge a fortune. In my industry, we have meet the buyers and specification meetings and stuff where you'll have events where people who are buying and people who are interested in certain different materials come in, and you get that 10, 15 minutes of where you literally sit down, exchange details and go forward. And I think this is pretty much the same. You pay a fortune for it, but I'd say you pay a fortune, you pay a chunk of money. And I think what happens then is that it's cheaper than probably having scouts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it extends. You still want scouts to go and watch games, but it's just how the game's going. I don't know this question. I don't know the question. I read the article. I'll read some of it out, actually, because it's on our Twitter handle anyway. So Gallon says, so on the transfer room, it's on our Twitter feed. We retweeted it from the transfer room. At the start of the same month in August 2024, they held one-to-one meetings with the key people at FK Vojvodina during the transfer room deal day in Madrid. So this is an event where they get 200 clubs together and some of the top agencies in one place for one day. And that's where the conversation then sparked. And then the Gallon goes on to talk about it, saying the deal began when we met them at a deal day in Madrid. We speak to the clubs at the event to find out information about players, to which we can then bring back to see if the players match up to what we're looking at. We'll have a good scouting system here with around 10 video scouts, talking about Millwall. We'll have some watching the Serbian league, someone watching Serie B, someone watching the German second division. Everyone is signed to their own leagues. And then the links start there, and then we send the message, then they connect us with the agent. So it's the modern way of doing it, as Frankie says. So, yeah, it's not me claiming to be in the know. It's interesting.
You look at it there, it says the arrival of Ivanovic, identified at transfer room, deal day in Madrid, direct connect Lee with his club, signed within a month of initial talks. And then you look at Nigli again. Well, exactly the same way to replace. And then the coach, basically, they knew the coach they wanted, obviously, because we know that Alex Neil put his hat in the ring. They went back to transfer room and basically said, this is what he's telling us. Can you basically check? And they checked the data, and they basically got his playing style, philosophy, what they want to play. Does that fit into his? And they had all the data to do. I mean, Steve Gallen says transfer room connects you to people all over the world with different levels. The options to connect with European clubs has opened up a new avenue to this football club. It's made things so much more efficient. I can have more information about a player before I look to travel to see them play.
The only thing I will say about this data, right, because everyone's got access to the same data, at the very, very top level, what clubs do is they have their own data metrics because they can afford to build and develop their own systems.
Have you heard about Brentford's one where they scouted like 85,000 players and it cost them like 30 million a year?
Brentford have access to the match room or whatever it is that Matthew Benham owns, because he owns the sports betting company as well, doesn't he? So what clubs do at the top this level, you could argue this is not a new thing. It isn't new. It's been around for years, this sort of resource. So then what the bigger clubs are doing to try and develop and to find these players that are so remote and it's obscure is they develop their own systems that they'll have a private thing just for them because they can afford to build and develop it. So it's a bit like when you're trying to bet on sports and you're trying to find an edge. It's the exact same thing with metrics and numbers when it comes to identifying football players, where the Chelseas of this world or, the Man Uniteds of this world will have their own tool that they'll develop in-house, employ developers for it, employ people that can then find these metrics. And so you could say Millwall lates the party here, and how much actually do we gain from this compared to other clubs comparatively?
Ipswich used it last year, didn't they? Ipswich used it last year with the guy who owns Brighton, who runs that betting company. Tony Bloom's. It cost them £3 million a year, and they only do it with one other club. They only do it with one club per league or something. And it cost them £3 million. But you then have matrix on every player that they have. So most of this has probably come through betting companies, Football Manager, FIFA, 100%. All of those sort of different gaming stuff, because they want to be the best of the best. And we know that, these betting syndicates and all that around the world wouldn't think twice about spending 30, 40, 50 million on a data system if potentially it's going to make them 10 times that over a space of, and these large betting syndicates are betting, silly money on split, decisions, how many corners or how many this, and they have mathematicians work it all out. I remember listening to a show Kieran did, and he said he spoke to a guy who was interviewed for Tony Bloom's company, and he said, he was that high level mathematician that he didn't actually use numbers, and you just know that these people are just a step too far, but they get paid serious amounts of money. There's a lot of money in it, and data is king. And if you've got that,
I don't claim to be someone that reads a lot of books or anything like that, because I don't. But I was interested at one point, and there's a book called The Football Code, which is understanding like marginal gains and stuff within football, and also numbers and stuff, which I found really interesting. If you want to get really nerdy with it, it's also like the whole story of Matthew Benham and how he built his betting industry and stuff, and how he built his company, so to speak. So yeah, Benham and Bloom are the ones that are, they don't like each other. I think they used to work with each other and fell out, I think. So as Alex has said there. So if you read The Football Code, you can learn all about that if it's of interest to you. But yeah, I think, like I said, the marginal gain for Millwall in reality for this tool is probably not realised that much, because it's probably quite late to entry. But we have signed the Ivanovic and Negley from it, so it has some benefits.
But it does make sense.
You might not get
we do nothing about it.
You might not get massive benefit, but you definitely don't want to not be in that loop.
No, I'm not saying we shouldn't be using it. I'm saying what people find out about. Yeah, what people find out about today is, I'm saying, like, every other club's doing it, so it's good that we're doing it. we're late to the party.
It's hard to believe as well, isn't it? It's hard to believe that people are now basically doing what we've. Let's be honest, we slagged Aldo off for how many years of saying he's a football manager. He finds his data from Football Manager, yet actually Steve Dallin does the same. Do you know what I mean? It's just that he's probably paid the next level. He's on the pro membership. Is in Aldo was on the on the free monthly update pro.
He's broadened these horizons. Yeah, he's paid better.
Yeah. So look, we're running over an hour, so I'm just going to play the Bobby behind enemy lines video. It's about 2 minutes, and then we will come back and talk about Stoke tomorrow before we end up. So yeah, we've covered quite a few subjects today, and if there is anything you want us to go into a bit more detail, then drop us a DM or drop us something, because we can find out some more and dig into it a bit deeper if need be. So yeah, I'm going to play the Bobby's video, and we will be back in just over 2 minutes. So this is Bobby T behind enemy lines at Palace.
Described him as one of the most dangerous men on the face of the earth.
Morning on Mickey J. Crystal Palace. This is Millwall. Bobby T coming on. Here we go.
Excuse me! Can you do that somewhere else? We can't see the fucking game!
Full time and fucking Selhurst Park. Cunts. It's in the Palace end. Should have fucking showed up Millwall second half. There for the taking. 3-1 Palace. South London's always Millwall. Bye for now, mate.
There we go, Bobby in the away end at Palace. I have got about 4 weeks worth of clips, and we might end up putting some more because there is him trying to blend in by going Eagles, and looking really unhappy as he's going along. So there are some more on there, and we will do it. Great question, Alex. Go on.
I've got them having to go at the players. Like, if anything, that's a poor design by Palace, then, though, for having the family or kids there. Like, I don't know. Just that made me laugh.
Mate, there's a couple of clips what I'll play out on our next shows. Right, there's a bird sitting behind Bobby, and Bobby's in the chat. Bobby admit, and she has got the most horrendous voice. And it's as if she's never been to a football game in her life. She's like, "Come on, you mate, come on, you mate," and it's just, mate. If I was sat next to her all game, I'd be fucking. I'd be up for murder. She was a jar, mate. But listen, well done to Bobby for commitment. For couldn't get a ticket in the Millwall end and managed to get a ticket very close to the Millwall boys. I did like the shithousery of Savile. I thought it was quite good. And there's something else on Savile actually. On the Leeds commentary, for some unknown reason, every time we played Leeds and I've listened to them, they don't call Savile by the name Savile. It's Seville. Every time he sits there and he goes, Seville's on the ball. Seville's on the ball. So I don't know if you're... I don't know. Yeah, possibly. That's what I was thinking. Don't know whether or not it's banned. They're not allowed to say the word Savile up there or not. But yeah. Alex S., do they ever use it to sell players? Potentially. It could be on there because if they're looking to sell players as well as buy players, I would say. And Daily Millwall, yes. Y-Scout, Opta, people like that, they sell their data to these companies who then bag it all up and then obviously produce it. And again, remember when we looked at Y-Scout, Omar, or Opta, and they wanted £10,000 a year just for us. So fuck knows what they charge clubs. And we tried and said, look, you can make all the data for us. This is what we're looking at. Just give us bits. And they went, yeah, we don't do partnerships like that. It's £10,000 a year. And we did find one what gave us stuff, but they sort of ended up falling by the wayside because they got bought out by a bigger data company. And then, we got nothing. So it's big business. Data is big business, hence why all the supermarkets have your payment cards, your loyalty points and all that sort of shit. So it's big
data is everything.
Big business. So yeah. Right then, go on in, Omar. Start us off. We have Stoke tomorrow. They're not doing great. Have you got stats, Frankie, or not?
Frankie, you got stats ready, or do you want me to go for it?
You can go, mate, if you got them.
No, go on, Frankie. It's Frankie. It's Frankie's moment to shine. Go on, Frankie.
Joe, they're positive this week, so
here we go.
Let's crack on. We've lost one. Millwall have only lost one of our last 12 league meetings against Stoke. 6 wins, 5 draws. The last defeat being 2-0 away defeat in 21-22.
You're reading Stoke won. Me.
What's that?
I said I know where your stats are coming from.
Yeah, we all know it. I gave you both the tip off where they really stand.
Yeah. Stoke have won none of their last 6 league visits to Millwall. The last one being a 1-0 win in August 2005. We've only won 5 points in our last 6 league games at the Den under Alex Neil. 1 win, 2 draws, 3 losses, scoring just 5 goals in that time from 65 shots, which is horrific. And I think probably shows where we need to improve this season and going into next year.
Yeah, it's about 7%, 7.5%.
Stoke City have lost their last 3 away league matches. The last time they lost 4 was between January and March 2024. Again, this season under Stephen Schumacher. Last year. This is Millwall manager Alex Neil's first league meeting with Stoke since he left the club. He's won 4 of his last 5 championship games against the Potters. So that's everything that suggests 1-0 Millwall, doesn't it?
I think it does, mate. I think the main talk point is obviously their manager is Mark Robbins, and obviously Robbins is someone that we were linked with I suppose, and all kind of spoke about and wanted to maybe say, why don't we try and get him as manager when Alex Neil came in? So yeah, Mark Robins is the manager at Stoke City. That's the main talking point. They're struggling as well. I think they're 19th place in the league. They got a good win midweek against Blackburn. You look through their team; they've still got a lot of the normal faces you're used to seeing play for them, to be honest. But it'll be interesting to see how we go against them. Really, I think Todd Cantwell's there. Obviously, he was at Blackburn and obviously proves it at Rangers and stuff. So I don't know. I do fancy just to go there and do the business. Not Todd Cantwell, sorry, my bad. I've looked at the wrong side there. Todd Cantwell's at Blackburn. But yeah, obviously they got Hansen in goal. We got compared to Gordon Banks when he's at Rotherham. Look, fancy us tomorrow to get a result. We need to build the home form up, don't we? Do you know what I mean? So the most important thing really to come from tomorrow.
I said on BBC Stoke earlier that I think coming to the Den, it's because they said, Leeds is a hard team, and I said I think we're pretty much the same. Because someone before me they read out a text message who said, I hope we just take it to Millwall tomorrow, just go for it. And I said that could work both ways, that if you do come to us and we end up getting the crowd on side, through a stop or something, and all of a sudden the crowd's on our side, the Den's a horrible place to be. And I think realistically at the Den currently, we don't fear anyone.
We should do. We're not very good there, mate.
Our home form's been woeful since Harris went, I suppose you can say. No, I don't know. The home form's been poor under Alex Neil so far. It has been. I think that's the important thing. If you're Alex Neil, what's the priority at the end of the season? Try and blood some of these youngsters in, see what they're about, and win some fucking home games. And there's no option to get off to that kind of mentality, I suppose. And so another early kickoff, is that going to kill the atmosphere? Probably. Is that going to, there's got to be some, it's got to be onto the players to try and produce that atmosphere tomorrow for us. But I personally think, what is it, 8 games to go now, or 9 games to go? If we finish on 48 points now, if we got over 60 points, I'll be happy. Are we going to get over 60 points? I really don't know. I see it petering out and finishing 17th, 18th place this season, if I'm totally honest. But I wouldn't be too disappointed by that. Just let's see what the players can do. Some youngsters come in and make an impression, really, for me. That's the priority, I think.
I mean,
I think for the rest of the season, we'll do what we're doing now. You'll win one, you'll lose one, you'll win one, you'll lose one. And I think we will finish about 14th. I just want to touch on a comment we've had from Peter about the referee tomorrow. We've won one of the last 5 that he was in charge of. Funny enough, I was looking at this earlier, and Stoke hate him. Stoke fans are sitting on Twitter going absolutely slating him. Apparently, there was a challenge one of their last games, a little bit Roberts-esque, and he didn't blow up or nothing, and they're still a little bit hurt by that. So it sounds like he's just universally despised, mate. So hopefully that'll be a bit of a non-factor referee.
Yeah, well, I hope it doesn't come into it too much. Do we think there'll be many changes then for midweek? I suppose there will be, right? I think midweek will come back into the side. Should we do our 11 quickly? What's the starting 11 going to be? Mickey, you there with us?
Yeah, I'm there.
I'll start 11. I'll give you my 11 anyway. I would go with
Frankie
Jensen. No, we're here, mate.
Oh, okay.
Jensen in goal. Go on.
He's not on my screen. That's all I was going to say. So yeah,
my 11 for tomorrow anyway. I'll give you Jensen in goal. I'll bring back Cramer into the side at right back, Tanganga and Cooper, and Joe Bryan left back. I'd have. Do you know what I want to see? I think Denor's been great of late, but maybe give him the. I don't know. We've got international break coming out, so maybe you might still play him. But maybe Mitchell and Denor again, or maybe I think Mitchell and Denor probably be midfield 2 for me. I'd have Aziz. I want to see Aziz off the right again. He's played him off the left a lot, and he's only played him solely off the left. But I liked him off the right at times under Harris. I'd have Aziz on the right, a marker on the left. I'd have. Here we go. Let's go. Where's Langstaff? What's happened to Macaulay Langstaff, Mickey?
Injured. He's had a fullback on injury. He was coming back.
He's been a week away for 3 months.
I'd love to see him in the Serb up top. That's what I want. I want to see him in the Serb up top. I want to see. I'd love to say you have Mitchell and Denor midfield 2, Aziz and a marker either side, and then you have the Serb and Langstaff up top and see what they've got. Because I would love to see the two of them play together and see what happens, really. But we're not getting Langstaff again. This is the time for Langstaff to come in the side and see what he's got. 9 games left, and he's nowhere to be seen. So I don't know. I'll go with Bangor Williams in the 10, and I'll have Coburn up top. There you go. That's my 11 for tomorrow. Frankie,
Got
what's
it,
your 11?
Frankie.
Jensen in goal, Crammer, Tanganga, Cooper, Bryan. I think he will go for Mitchell and Denor. Personally, I'll put Saville in there instead of Mitchell, but I think he'll keep Mitchell in there. I think if Aziz is fit, which I think is probably a big question, I think he'll be down on the right. I can see Connolly coming back in maybe on the left. And like you, I wouldn't be. I personally would have Bangor Williams in the 10. I think he will start Kundal again, and then Coburn up top.
There you go. Everyone starts to get their score predictions in. So I think Mickey is in and out and needs to sort out his internet provider and try and put a bit more money into that. So everyone get your score predictions in. What do you reckon the score is going to be tomorrow? Name some goal scorers too. I'm going to go 2-1 Millwall. I think we'll not keep a clean sheet, but we'll get the win. I'm going to say a goal from Cooper and a goal from...
Get your stuff in the comments now. Put your score predictions in the comments now.
I've already asked for the comments as well in the comment section, mate, but you just drop in and out, so you're not really here present, so don't worry, mate. 2-1 Millwall I'm going to go for. Frankie, what's your prediction, mate?
3-1 Wall. I'm going to go Tanganga, Aziz, and Ivanovic.
There you go. Mickey, what's your score prediction, mate? Whilst we got you, before you drop out again.
I think it's probably going to be a sneaky 1-0, but I would like it to be 2 or 3-1. But I think it will probably be a nice little still 1-0. Listen, I don't care as long as we get the 3 points. I couldn't give a shit.
I think we need to win at home. Just win a home game. I know you're saying record numbers on season tickets, Mickey, mate, all that stuff at this point, but that's got to be people to renewing, isn't it? And the loyalty is never questioned of people that have season tickets and will be there, won't they? But I think there needs to be a bit of a feel-good factor at the Den towards the end of the season. That helps last season, I think, under Harris, to having that run towards the end of the season kind of set us away happy going into pre-season and stuff as well. And obviously, we had what happened in the summer with Sarkic and stuff. But what I mean is, I think we need just a bit. I think Alex Neil needs that too, just to show what he's going to be offering us going into next season. Not that there's had any pressure from us or anything like that, but the fan base, I think we need some home form to be kind of going into the summer with and something to look forward to going into the new season, I think, for sure. So, yeah.
I fully agree with you.
2-1 Millwall, I'm going to go for, and hopefully we get to do the business, mate.
Yeah, I think the same as you, mate. I think, I think we get a home win, and the rest of it will be there. We haven't spoken about the season ticket stuff because me and Frankie are doing some deep dive into that. So there will be a show coming out within the next week or so. It'll be a pre-record, but we will dig into that a bit deeper and make it a little bit more understandable. Because if you, again, like what Omar said, you look at the headline, it looks fucking like a piss take. But actually, if you dig in and look behind the headline, it sort of makes sense to a degree. Not all of it. I mean, not saying all of it, but some of it is inherited, and I think it's moving forward. So yeah, as we normally do, Frankie, final words.
No, mate. Look forward to tomorrow. Hopefully we'll turn this home form around and start give us some optimism for next season. Because it does feel like this year's been a bit of a drag, doesn't it? So hopefully we can end it positively, mate.
No, definitely. Omar, any final words from you, fella?
I'm not going to go as far as says I'm looking forward to tomorrow, but it's still Saturdays down the Den, so of course I am. But yeah, get to be down the Den. The season's petering out a little bit, but that's fine. Give us something to shout about Mill, please, because that's all we really have at this point of the season. So fingers crossed. And thanks everyone watching tonight, and your comments as always. It's much appreciated.
No, that's it. And both the Millwall link for the accounts are on our Twitter feed. We're looking at and pin that after this. And also the transfer room stuff is on our feed too. So we'll look at maybe printing the links to certain bits so you can get to see it all, but or repost their post. But that's all there. You just need to look through our feed. Thank you very much. We'll probably see you again, possibly Sunday night. Or Monday night, depending which way it is. But yeah, thank you very much for joining. Make sure you do like, subscribe, and tell a friend. We're done. Speak to you later.
So giddy up and get away. Oh, we're going Millwall, and we're going today. Here we go.